This trip has exceeded my wildest expectations. I am a grandson of a trooper, Private First Class Martin G. Cullen, 513th Company A. And, my family and I, we had decided years ago that we were going to do a little bit more research into his time into the European Theater of Operations. It was about a couple years ago that I started to recognize that the Scions of the 17th Airborne was the same association tied to what my grandfather called the Army reunion meetings that he so looked forward to in his retirement years. So one, there was the connection directly to the association that he was a part of for his life after service. And then, with the trip here, especially for the 80th anniversary of the European Theater and the Battle of the Bulge and Operation Varsity, I couldn't pass up this trip. So, again, I've done some years of research. Belgium was an anomaly for me. I didn't really understand what those guys did. Varsity was a very well documented operation, so I knew more about that. But when I got the itinerary for the trip, I was amazed at how extensive it was and all the places that we'd be going. But then it was all the people that we've met. Just amazing from top to bottom. We've made lifelong friends here, for sure. And I plan to be involved with the organization for some time to come.
Yeah, so having attended the trip in 2015 to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the Bulge in Varsity, I had pretty high expectations for coming again 10 years later. And I have to say that really my expectations were exceeded. I think the professionalism of the organization, just the friendliness and the love, particularly from our Belgian friends, made it just a great experience overall. And, it's been said that this group is more like an extension of family. And I really believe that's the case. So really, really great experience for me.
My great-grandfather passed away when I was young, so I didn't really know much of his legacy. And after the trip, I have a newfound appreciation for everything that he's done, and I hope that we can carry on his legacy as a younger generation. I got to see exactly where he was 80 years ago today, so I just now have a lot more respect for him and all of his fellow comrades that were in the same battles as him, and being able to experience this with my grandpa and my father and my cousin was just, I'm never going to forget it. It was life-changing for me.
My name is Mary Ellen Lechieski, and I'm the daughter of Frank Lechieski. And Frank Lechieski was a member of the 681st B Battery Battalion. I think I was very excited about coming here just because it was the 80th anniversary of Operation Varsity, Battle of the Bulge, and I just wanted to see where my dad was and, where he spent the months, 1943 to 1946 it was. And so I wanted to see that. And then now that I'm here, especially after being here for the past 2 weeks or so, seeing the exact places that he was, it was more emotional than I thought. I just saw and felt what he had done, the sacrifices he had made with all the 17th Airborne Division, with his buddies for our freedoms, for democracy. And it was, as I said, a lot more significant in my life.
My name's Esther Starner. I am the granddaughter of James Starner. He was a part of the 194th Glider Infantry Regiment in the 17th. I was a little intimidated to come on this trip. It felt like a lot of information. I was nervous. I had just finished, I'm a historian, graduating in May. I was a little nervous to find out all this information after I'd just done a large research paper on my grandfather. And I will say I am so happy that I have come on this trip. I have learned information I couldn't have learned in 10 years of studying my grandfather. I have met people who I have made lifelong connections with, and I think that being here is so important for people not only of my generation, but the next generation to understand who their grandparents and great-grandparents were and why their generation was so impactful to the freedom and experiences that we get to see and do every single day. So I'm very thankful for my grandfather, for the wonderful memories I have with him before he passed away, and for the generation who helped save our world. Experiencing this trip with my dad was very emotional, I would say. I grew up 2 houses down from my grandfather. So we all had a very close-knit relationship, and my dad took over my grandfather's company. We all grew up very close-knit, and being able to go into this perspective with my dad, someone who is still, I've gotten a little into the information about my grandfather and he's just getting into it. So us getting to experience this trip together and understanding my grandfather from a new perspective has truly been wonderful and very, I feel it's brought us even closer together.
So 2 years ago, I was fortunate enough to travel to Paris with my family for a family vacation. And at that time, we were not aware of the Scions, but I did know that my grandfather's first action was Flamarège. So we went to Bastogne for 1 day out of that trip, rented a car, drove down, paid respects to the monument, and actually got to meet Fred DeHaan, who created the monument 20 years ago, so that was very special. And then we drove into town and went to the 101st Airborne Museum, where we saw a number of relics related to the 513th. At that museum, that was the first time that I had met Belgian locals who were deeply appreciative of the efforts that these men sacrificed and paid their lives for the freedom of Europe. And that hit home. And at first I thought it was just kind of a one-off thing. But then we came here for the trip and I realized that it is a very deep appreciation for what these men have done. And so very proud of my grandfather and the 17th Airborne and all the men and women that served in World War II.
Aside from seeing things that I really enjoyed even the first time, seeing things that were new to me this time, but also the camaraderie of being with like-minded people and having this experience is absolutely unparalleled.
My great-grandfather was in World War II, and I am one of 2 great-grandchildren on this trip, so we are the latest generation, and I hope that every great-grandchild and grandchild and great-great-grandchild continue on this legacy, because it is truly life-changing, and I got to see exactly where he was and learn so much more about what he did.
Oh, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, if you've got a blood connection to one of the veterans of the 17th Airborne, signing up to be a Scion keeps you in the loop in terms of information, gives you access to great resources, including a phenomenal digital archive that's under construction. And there's really little downside. You don't have to do the international travel if you don't want to. But being part of the organization, I think, is something that everyone who's related to a 17th Airborne veteran should consider.
I say just do it. I mean, if you get to come here and just walk these grounds, it's an experience that I would do.
Oh, do it. You know, it's really important that these stories, these men and women, do not get lost to history. Every single person in every one of those graves, in Margraten, in Luxembourg, in Belgium, they all have a story behind them. And learning those stories, talking to any vets who are still alive, from World War II is so important.
I think what I would say to Scions in the future is just come, just see where your father, your grandfather, your uncle, friend, whoever it was during these years, which are very special, but they just did so much. And I think being here in person, walking the land, this is sacred ground. This is holy ground that they gave their lives, and or came home with those memories. They did it for us, and they did it for all the people here. And I think it's just a matter of, not just a matter, but they did it to bring peace to the world so that we won't have wars again or conflicts. And I think that's uppermost in my mind right now.
If you're not sure, reach out to the Scions email address, give them your information about your relative, and they will respond relatively quickly. They have the full roster of troopers and glidermen. They'll be able to tell you if your grandfather was a member, and then moreover, they'll bring you into the fold. I mean, they can help you find information that you may not know. If you're on the fence of whether or not to join, I can tell you it's worth it.